Okay, so this is the first Chen Q&A session that we're going to do. So the idea being generally is we're going to basically work through taking questions on the Chen Facebook page, which is Chen's new latest endeavour. Since he's joined Facebook, he's very keen to engage with the audience. So the plan being that basically you guys can post questions that you want answered from Chen about anything on that page. Vanessa's going to basically manage it from our perspective. And I think the general idea is, depending upon the number of people that reply, a number of kind of thumbs up we get, obviously we'll go through the questions. And then every week, the two ladies, Jane and Vanessa, as you can see, will basically pick through the questions that come forward. We'll look at the number of people that are asking or keen to see which questions get answered or asked to Chen and then answered, and then we'll basically go from there. So the idea is that every week we'll basically start again, so you can post new questions on a Monday, and then we'll record this on Thursday, because the ladies aren't quite so keen on going live just yet. Encourage them to do that over time, so we might end up with a live session at some point. But to start with, it's just a kind of test run for Q&A with Chen, basically. And then on the Thursday, Vanessa and Jane will collate all of the questions coming in. We'll record this and post it out on Fridays. So the concept being, questions come in on Monday, we answer them, or Chen answers them on Friday. And from my perspective, the idea is that we'll try and keep Chen to sort of a 30-minute slot, which, as you probably will know, is quite difficult because he does like to talk. So the ladies have the job of trying to control and maintain Chen's level of answer, if you like. So we'll just basically run with it and see what happens, and then we can kind of tweak it as we need to. Okay, so did you two want to introduce yourselves, or no?
Everybody knows who we are. Nobody's met Vanessa, actually. Vanessa?
So Vanessa's girl Friday, basically. So she does all of the background stuff behind the scenes, sending pendants. What else do you do? All sorts of things, sorting out emails.
She keeps my stress level down.
Keeps Jane's stress, yeah. Because apparently I'm quite stressful to work with, so.
Not at all.
So Vanessa's job is to keep Jane's stress level down and keep me on track, and I try and keep Chen on track. So between the three of us, that's kind of our team, really.
Yeah.
So I guess it's quite good from that perspective that people actually do get to see that we're real and we're actually doing things, and this is the three of us that you generally engage with.
Yeah, putting faces to names.
Sorry?
Putting faces to names.
Faces to names, cool. Okay, so with that, let's get Chen in, and then we'll get cracking and we'll just see where we go from there. So we've got, I think it's 5 questions that have been put forward by various people. And I guess you guys are going to basically read out who put the question forward and what the question is, and then Chen's going to endeavour to answer them. So we'll just run with it and see what happens. Okay. And you can call me back in about half an hour once I've been asleep. Good day to you all. My name is Chen. How are you, my dears?
Well, very good. Thank you. Yes.
Yes. I get to meet Vanessa in the flesh, so to speak, which is quite nice.
Oh, Chen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I can't hear you speaking.
Okay.
So we seem to have a problem with the sound. I think there's nothing coming out.
Right.
There we go. I can hear you now.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yes, that's better. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that's the first technical blip. Okay, we've got a few questions for you, Chen. So I'm sure you know what we've been doing on your page for you. Yeah.
Yes, I'm the infamous Chen. I have my own Facebook page and I have followers, which is
You're
nice.
very famous. Yes. Yes, you've got lots of followers now. Everybody loves you, Chen.
Yes, that's very nice to see. I love everyone too, of course.
Of course you do. Yeah. That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's love.
It's all about love, the highest vibration that there is on this planet, basically. And of course, the more that we can engage with people, the more that we can answer questions and try to highlight problem areas, help people with their choices and their understanding of the spiritual aspects, then the better life is for everyone that lives on the planet.
Yes, that's very true. Yes. Okay. Well, it was very difficult to pick 5 questions because they were all amazing, every single question that came in. So at some point we may be able to think about some way of answering everybody's. But for the minute, we've got 5 for you. So your first question is from Amanda Stevens. What does the spirit realm look like to you? I picture a blank white construct with humans walking around, not being able to see the entities and gadgets attached to them. And on that note, do you stay in the lower astral with us, or do you go to other places in the universe? And Carol Madriz also sent a really similar question. Hi, Chen. Can you tell us about your side, where you are? What does it look like? And how does time elapse for you? Thank you.
Yeah, it's perfect. Some very interesting questions to start the session with. So from my perspective, you have to understand, I think, if we cover the primary answer, is you exist with a human physical body and you have a spiritual intelligence that's locked into your physicality. So when you use your eyes and your ears and your senses, of course, it's the human brain that's decoding what you see and what you hear. So if you can understand from my perspective, when I'm in my normal space, I don't have a physical human body. There is no physical carrier. I am purely energy, pure energy and a pure vibration. So I don't see anything per se. We exist as a frequency, basically. So it's very difficult to explain or for people to understand the concepts without the concept of seeing. But if you can imagine that when I look down, or if I stand in the room next to young Andrew, I don't see him as a physical person stood there with his physical body and the colours of his clothing. I just purely see a vibration, and that vibration has a number. So I can see the frequency of vibration that he ascertains in his day-to-day. And as he moves about in the physical space, that would be a room or a home, again, we see the vibrations around. So we see the vibrations of the rooms, we see the vibrations of the construction. So if the room's constructed with brick, it has a certain frequency of vibration. If it's constructed with wood, it would have a different frequency of vibration. So we're basically viewing all of you as your frequency, not as your human form. So we don't see you as human beings. The only way that I would see you as human beings is if in this state, when I've actually taken possession, if you like, of Andrew's physicality, if I was to open his eyes, which I will do now, I basically can see. So therefore I can see through his eyes. Therefore I see what you see. I see the physicality. But without a human body and the actual brain and the construct of the eyes, we don't see imagery in the way that you see them. Does that make sense to you, my dears?
Yes, and hopefully to Amanda and Cara as well. Thank you. So when just to add to that, when you are looking around you where you are, you only see energy.
Yes, I don't really look around because, again, the way that we would look around from a spiritual conscious awareness, we would need eyes to see things, but we don't really see things. We exist as a conscious, energetic awareness. So if you can imagine a sea that's full of fish, effectively, and if the fish had no physical body and eyes, but they still existed in the sea, they would all be moving about, but they wouldn't really be able to see each other, but they would know that each other was there. So we're able to ascertain energy. So everything is about vibration and energy, not locked into the physical. And it's the same for all of the other entities and energies that you mix with on a daily basis. You could be stood next to your great grandparent that died and passed. They could be stood right next to you. They won't see you as the person that they saw you as when you were in human form. They would just know that you're there as a conscious vibration. And you may feel them. So people that become spiritually open and psychic would know or see an image that that person could project. So that dead grandparent could project an image into a psychic's mind, into their third eye, to show them the picture of who they are. And of course, the psychic medium can then look at them and say, oh, this looks like your great granddad. His name was George. And of course, that psychic medium can then speak to George. But they're speaking on a telepathic layer. They're not speaking with their ears. They're not speaking physically. The medium is using telepathy to have conversation. And that's the same way that we would talk to and discuss everything from a spiritual perspective. When I talk to other entities and communicate to other entities, it's completely using telepathy because I have no physical body.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So, hi Chen, loving that you're doing this and thank you. Do our third eye images come from us, our higher self, or do the guides slip in to help? I recently was shown my own luminescent energy, but I don't know by who and what. Is it the same for intuition? And that was sent by Andrea P.
Yes, it's a very interesting question. So, of course, the third eye effectively is a spiritual component of the human configuration. So you have your two regular physical eyes that attach to your brainstem, and obviously that's where you create imagery that you see physically. But when you move into a higher state of vibration, generally through meditation, or if you're a medium, you allow that third eye to open, and the third eye is opening to a different frequency. So effectively, it's opening to the frequency of spirit, and therefore you can see other spiritual energies and entities. So mediums, again, and psychics that have developed the ability to be able to open their third eye will see other frequencies of vibration. So let's just say for a second that you took some type of hallucinogenic drugs, or some type of mushroom or something that has a chemical effect that opens the third eye. Then you, in that kind of dream state, will actually see imagery, and that imagery is of a different vibration. It's of the spiritual realm. So you may see the presentation of other entities, you may see discarnate spirits. So again, grandparents, people that are dead, can present themselves to you. You may see, depending upon the frequency that you open to, you may see the angelic realm. So you may start to see angels, you may start to see seraphim, you may start to see fairies. There's all sorts of other energies that exist, each one in their own frequency band, and depending upon the frequency you open yourself to, depends upon what you see. So that's how the third eye works effectively. But of course, from our perspective, in terms of guides, we can project imagery into your third eye. So if I want Andrew to see an image of something that I'm trying to explain, and he's struggling to understand from a contextual perspective as we're speaking, I can put the image in his mind. So rather than say, I want you to, when we do meditation, often Andrew opens up to meditation, changes his frequency, is using telepathy to speak to myself. I then take over the third eye. So I show him the imagery that I want him to explain, and he then verbalizes that to the audience in the best way that he can. So if you like, there's different methods of working with the third eye, but from a spiritual perspective, you're seeing different frequencies of vibration. But to answer the question, the guides can certainly put imagery into your mind. Of course. Okay.
I don't want to knock it off.
Right, so we're recording again.
Yeah.
Right, so we're on to the third question. So we'll just carry on now as though we do.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Right, just give me a tick. Okay, my dears.
Hello, Chen. We're on the question 3.
Yes, we had an intermission, I do believe.
We did.
We did. We had some problems, but we're hopefully sorted.
Well,
Can you hear us?
Problems are generally presented to be overcome, I always find.
So you can hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, thank you.
Yay.
Brilliant.
Okay, so we're going to go in with question 3 from Alareza Saeed. And I do apologise if I pronounce your name wrong. I think I've got it right. Who says, hello, Chen. I'm from an isolated country with too many obstacles. What am I supposed to do to rise my vibration and move forward and get better right now without having access to meditation classes? And thank you.
Yes, it's a very pertinent question because, of course, everyone's living in different geographical locations and areas. And, of course, different people have access to different things. So some people have access to local physical meditation groups that they can go and sit down and they can enjoy the comfortable surroundings of other physical people, which, of course, is the best way to do things generally because you're human and you interact with each other and you connect to each other's energies. So doing things physically is the number one option from our perspective. Of course, these days with the internet and with the availability to connect to people all over the world, the internet has provided you with this option that you can now connect to people in every country, in every walk of life, across different cultural settings with different religious beliefs as well. So these things break down barriers. So the internet is very progressively changing the landscape for humanity, really, to a certain degree. But in terms of answering the question as to what you can do, obviously, if you can join groups, if you can do things online with people, you don't need to do things physically in your own local country or area. You can connect with people that run groups online. Meditation is a solitary practice by design. all of you have the ability to basically find the stillness inside, to change your vibration and move into a meditative state, whereby your brain wave status and continuum changes. So this is inbuilt programming for every single human being that walks the planet. All of you can access higher frequencies. You can use meditation to engage with and turn on telepathy. So telepathy is the method of communicating with other energies, other vibrations and other frequencies, as we've said before. So for someone to speak to guides, to spirit guides, or to speak to other entities that exist, other vibrations and frequencies, you have to move your brainwave state into a different frequency using telepathy, because when you start to meditate, you turn off the conscious part of you, rather like when you go to sleep and the subconscious element is then activated and the subconscious comes with telepathy ready to go. So everyone has the ability to do that. And in your case, you can obviously download meditations from the internet that you can do in solitary yourself. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Chen. Thank you very much. Right, the next question we have is from Ariana Gonzalez. And she's written, after seeing a post in the SRA group, I'm curious to know if death by suicide is ever pre-planned for someone incarnating, or is it always seen as giving up? Should legal assisted suicide be banned? Thanks, Chen and the team, for your dedication to this page and spreading the truth.
Well, first of all, my dears, I can hear you so much more with clarity, which of course is good from my perspective.
Very good, thank you.
Which is always nice to be able to speak and communicate. So, and it's a fascinating question, I think, that the person's put forward, because of course suicide from a spiritual perspective is never really something that you engage with on your spiritual path before you incarnate. So when you're in your spiritual vibration, as I am now, and you decide to come into planet Earth, and you come in as obviously a human being, then as part of your path, suicide is never pre-planned from our perspective. It's never something that at a certain date or time, I think I'll take my life. So even though it's a learning opportunity for the human soul, it's never really pre-planned. So people generally find that their life becomes difficult, life becomes testing, depending upon their emotional state. Many people start to have negative thoughts. And as you know, everything comes down to vibration and of course sovereignty. So if a human being is totally sovereign, generally they would never have suicidal thoughts, because suicidal thoughts work against the inbuilt programming of the conscious energy of a human being. So people generally that have suicidal thoughts and consider taking their own life are, if you like, either traumatized to a certain degree, or they have external attachments, so spiritual entity attachments or discarnate spirits that are attached to that person's etheric field that encourages them to take their life, or puts those sorts of thoughts in their mind, or makes them feel so emotionally disillusioned with life that they consider ending the human life. Because of course, from our perspective, the queue to become human is enormous, if you could understand that. The number of spiritual entities that want to incarnate into a physical human body, the waiting list is as you would say, infinite. So if you're in spirit, you don't just think of yourself, oh, I think I'd like to come and incarnate into planet Earth and have a human life and let's see how we get on. Firstly, you have to be able to complete effectively a checklist, a spiritual checklist to incarnate here. And then you need to wait for a human physical body effectively to come forward, which obviously means the union of a man and a woman to create a child before the actual spiritual intelligence can incarnate and connect into the human body. So when two humans get together in the act of sexual intercourse, obviously you have a sperm and an egg, and as those two join, at that point a spiritual entity is normally standing by ready to connect when the development of the human body gets to be old enough that there is a conscious part of it, probably within the first month or so. That's the point that the spirit enters generally. So the spirit connects them to that effectively human physicality to a certain degree, and the two start to become a union. So coming back to answer the question, suicide is never preordained from our perspective, if that makes sense to you, my dears.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hopefully that makes sense for you, Ariana, as well. Your final question, Chen. This is it. Well, for this week. This is from Hannah Moss, and this is a good question. Hi, my question for Chen is, how was he guided to Andy? If he was, do spirit beings like Chen also have their own spirit guides?
Yeah, so 2 questions actually, rather than just one,
Yes.
of course, is nice. So when you say it's the last question, you're not telling the complete truth. Because you've slipped in 2 questions, my dear.
Yes, we did. So, well, Hannah did, to be.
Yes, so very interesting questions. So firstly, to answer the second part, so spirit guides, like myself, don't really have other guides. So we are just an energy, a vibration with a conscious awareness. So we don't really have a connection to anything above us in that way. Obviously, there is a hierarchy on the spiritual side. The hierarchy is based upon vibration. So the same way that you have a hierarchy in a company, an organization, you have a structure where you have the person that runs the company at the top, and then every layer you have management teams, and eventually you have the person that does the real work generally. And the management teams effectively are just there to direct and guide. So the same sort of thing happens from a spiritual perspective. We have a conscious vibration and energy, and of course, as we learn things ourselves, our vibration and energy increases, and therefore we can move up our own hierarchy. And of course, there are different layers of entities around us and above us, as people would understand of the angelic realm. So if I want help, or we struggle with things that we're doing from a clearing perspective, when I'm working with young Andrew, then at times I may engage with other entities that have a higher vibration than myself, which is the way that we've built these teams. And of course, those entities also have other entities or energies above them that they can engage with. So if we're dealing with something particularly negative, that's beyond my capacity, then of course we refer to our hierarchy, and we move up the hierarchy until we find something that has a strong enough and high enough vibration to clear and remove the energy that we're looking to remove. So that's the way things work from our perspective spiritually. Now, the question about young Andrew, of course, so as you can imagine, these things they don't really happen as if by magic to a certain degree. So Andrew and I and other people, in fact, both of yourselves, we've incarnated together in past lives in different soul groups, and we've been around each other. So we've lived around each other physically in different timelines. We've also existed in different interplanetary vibrations. So we're interdimensional entities, all of us. And obviously Andrew and myself, effectively, which might make it sound quite difficult, have been part of the same energy in some of those other orchestrated life forms. So Andrew and myself in times past basically have worked for, if you like, the way that you would understand things as being human, the darker energies. So Andrew has orchestrated and done things to planet Earth that have been quite negative, using sorcery and magic. And therefore, of course, when those lives end and those lives finish, then the recalibration happens, and he then obviously passes back to spirit, or the conscious part of him that you know as Andrew passes back to spirit. And then generally you want to make things right, or you want to do things in a more positive way. And that's why, of course, people like young Andrew and Jono, for instance, have no fear of darkness and a negative aspect, because they have been the negative aspect. It's part of their vibration, it's part of their intellectual understanding. They understand how it works and why it works the way it does. And of course, that's what effectively drew me to be Andrew's guide in this particular life, because working together with him, it was very obvious that we would push him onto what he found to be quite a challenging spiritual path at the age of around 30. And of course, at that point, I was ready to connect, and we were ready to work together in union. And we were always going to get to a point that we worked and cleared negative energy from this planet and other spaces as well. But of course, that wasn't something that Andrew consciously was aware of at all. So to answer the question, that this was part of the path that he chose. He knew that this would happen from a spiritual perspective, but obviously not consciously when he was in the human body. And of course, from my perspective, he has the right skill set to be able to work with myself. So the key skills that we need for people that channel in the way that you see today, especially trance channeling, is we need someone that can put their own mind to one side. Someone that has a very, very chaotic and low vibration wouldn't really make a very good channeled energy from our perspective, because we need to bring our vibration down drastically to fit into the same physical container that you can see us speaking with today, that you know as Andrew. And obviously I need to take his conscious awareness away and push it out of the vehicle that you know as the human body. So I've effectively possessed his human body with my conscious energy and vibration, and that's why I can use the physicality to talk and to move, and his energy is obviously pushed out to one side. So if I elected not to leave, he would have no real way to repossess his body. And then, of course, Jane would have a much better life with me. Obviously, that was a joke, because, of course, we wouldn't do that sort of thing.
Yes. Thank you, Chen. We always smile, don't we, with you? You do like to make us laugh.
Yes, laughter is the best medicine, and it changes the vibration, as we know. The heart chakra opens when you laugh, and that's why I always like to end our conversations with a joke, because people find it funny and laugh, and that means the energy is left very high as we depart.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chen. Well, that's great. Thank you. And I hope the people that sent in the questions are happy with your answers. And
we look forward to seeing you next week for more question and answers with Chen.
yes.
Yes, this is very exciting. I'm very excited about the whole thing. As you can see. So I will
we
say,
try not to make you cross anymore.
well, I do get annoyed, of course, as all of you do in your physical, because we like things to work properly. And if things haven't been set up in such a way that they work, then of course I expect Andrew to resolve the problems.
And he will.
Yes. Well, I will say good day to you, my dear, and obviously all of the audience that get to listen to this in in their own time snap or time slot they watch with, and we will look forward, especially myself, to come back next week.
Thank you, Chen. See you next week.
Chen.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
That was quicker, wasn't it?
And you're still recording, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But
Well, you're wondering what you're going to say. We can
Okay, yeah,
we
no,
can
that's
snip the
fine.
last bit out. This bit now, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, that's great.
how was that?
All right, wasn't it?
That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. It's better. The sound's much better that way around.
Yeah. We'll be experts in a couple of weeks.
Well, things until you do these things, you don't know, do you?
I just still think the funniest thing was Chen's